Maybe you also have a page in your journal or planner like this one with a fun little envelope flap. And if you don't already, maybe you want to include an envelope so that you can do something like this. So it's just an envelope that is sewn into the signature. So we're going to make a fun butterfly page. Welcome to another Junk Journal Snacks episode. It's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. And to help us create this page, I have a freebie for you, which is this page right here with these two huge butterflies. Now, the important thing about these butterflies is that they are absolutely symmetric. So if you want to do this with other butterflies, please make sure that they are symmetric because we will be adhering them back to back on our little flap here. So you can find this freebie linked below in the description box. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut both of these out. Maybe one thing to mention is that I printed this on 200 GSM paper. So my butterflies are cut out. And then when I turn them back to back, I just want to check that they actually line up. And if they don't, I'll just have to adjust the edges a little bit. Like here you can see that they're not accurately cut. So I'm just going to adjust those so that they line up. It might be helpful to add some paper clips so that it doesn't keep moving while you're cutting. So you want to check both sides of your butterfly that they are fairly even. And you could just attach one part of the wings on your flap, cut these off, and just have a fun flap like this. Obviously this you would glue in front of this flap. So you could see that one wing from both sides. That alone already would be fun. But I want to take this further and I want to have the whole butterfly. So my thought is that I want to glue it on the flap like this. And I don't want the flap to look like a flap. So I'm going to cut all this away here and all this away here. And I want to take it even one step further. I want to have the illusion that this part here, which I'm not cutting off because it would be very unstable if I would do that. It would be very difficult to cut out this part right here. I want it to look like we're looking through the page. So I need this part here to look exactly like this part right here. And on this side, I need this part here where we're going to see this butterfly to look exactly like this part here. So you can take this as far as you want. I want to go all the way and hopefully that will look as good as the picture in my mind. So in order to reconstruct these two pages, I simply printed out these two again. So if you're using digital paper, you can just do that. And since I have them glued onto coffee dyed paper, I also have this strip of coffee dyed paper. So let's do the front side first. I've already inked this up, just like I've inked up this here. And to begin, I just need to glue this on top of this. And I don't need to go all the way to the end either. I want to make sure that the distance is the same. The top and the bottom actually don't matter because we'll be cutting that off. Going to cut it about here and about here. It does not have to be precise. And then I actually only just need this little strip here so I can cut it here. This now does not have to be exact. So this will go here and I have to adhere it so that it matches with what's underneath. So that would be like this. I can match it up with the flower here. So that would be the perfect match. And then the butterfly will go on it like that. And actually the only thing we will see is not even this part, this little bit right here. I don't know if it's going to be worth it, but I need to try this. So I'm going to glue this on my flap. I'm going to line this up again. Then I'll cut this away. It doesn't really matter because we'll be cutting that whole part away anyway. But I figure it will be easier to cut. So now I need to do the same thing on this side. So I have the strip of coffee dyed paper. Then I glue on my printed paper, trying to get the distance the same as on the actual page. So then again, I'll line up this strip. On this one, it's easy because I have this line to go by. So now if I glue on the butterfly like this, and then like that, here we just see this little part right here. I'm not sure if it's worth it. Okay, so but before I glue these two butterflies on, I want to add some more design on the actual butterfly. There's so many ways you could decorate these. I think it's really great that these are so plain because you could paint your own design, you could stamp on it, you could add some paper scraps, you could even just take a hole punch and punch some holes along the edge. Maybe you have some other fun punches that you could add. If you add holes or punches, then you need to have them together to punch through both layers, because otherwise, obviously, it won't line up when you turn the little flap. But any designs you can make don't have to be the same on both sides, as long as you keep the shape as it is. In my case, I want to try something I've seen on a Tim Holtz live video, which is to put these into an embossing folder and then use embossing glaze on them. I of course don't have the fancy paper that Tim uses in his video, but we'll just see what happens. So I want to use two different embossing folders, one for the front, one for the back. So one is going to be this one with the number 665753. And I realized they have the names here in the back. So this one is called Dotted, and it has the number 666292. And the name for this, by the way, was Numbered. Let's see how this will fit in here. It doesn't fit completely, so these tips here won't be embossed. You know what I'm going to do? Maybe I'll just get rid of the tips altogether. Let's see if that will still work. Yeah, that would actually be better because then I don't have this wing peeking out this far. Yep, so I'm going to get rid of the tips. So now it will more or less fit in here. So let's see what happened. Ooh, that already looks amazing. So even if you don't do what I'm doing here, which might be too much effort, you could just have a fun butterfly and then just add that to a journal or planner page. So let's add this one to the Dotted folder. Ta-da! Also super cool. So these colors are currently the only embossing glazes that I have. So what I think I'll do is I'll try the yellow just because I'm curious on the orange one. But for the red one, I'll just take clear embossing powder. So I'll use my Distress Embossing Dabber in clear. Always good to store this on its head so that the glycerin can flow into the felt tip. And then I'm just going to make sure that everything here is covered. And as a quick reminder, never press your dabber because everything will come out. You do not want that. So then I need to transfer this onto a clean sheet. Kind of looks like curry powder, doesn't it? Okay, that looks like a good coverage. I have a lump here. So that looks like it's covered well. Let's put that aside. Let's put the powder back inside. And apparently if your powder clumps up like this, you can just kind of tap it or something. Yeah, then it actually... Oh, look how easy. Oh, that's really good. Never tried that before. Oh, that is so cool. That's just when you are in a humid area like I am. And now I do the same thing with the red one. Let's add the clear embossing powder. So alternatively, again, if you don't have embossing powder, if you want the shiny look, you just add some shiny varnish or glossy Mod Podge or something like that. There's usually alternatives. That looks nice and frosty. Gorgeous. So these already look really great. You can either use them just like this, or if you want a more grungy look, then you'll continue and do what I do, which is to sand down these surfaces. So let's try that. So since I used regular white paper, I'm assuming that when I sand the tips here of these dots, that the white is going to show through. Okay, mine is getting a little bit green because I think I have some green paper bits there. But the important thing is that we get the glaze or the embossing powder off the tips so that we can ink them up. Oh no! I almost tore its body off. I'm so sorry. To be careful not to tear the whole wing off. Okay, that's good enough. I mean, we could even leave it like that. That even looks cool. And then we do the same thing here. This time I will be more careful not to tear its body off. I will link the Tim Holtz live video for you below where you can watch him do this technique in a more professional way. I'd say this one is good to go as well. Also, without even doing anything else to it, I think it looks actually pretty cool. So let me just get rid of all of this mess. So for this butterfly, I'm going to try some speckled egg Distress Oxide on top. Now the cool thing, of course, is since we have this glossy layer made with the glaze, or if you made it with glossy Mod Podge, it's the same thing. That will act as a resist, so I can just go over the whole thing and then wipe away the ink from the glossy parts. And for the red one, I want to go with a dark color, so I'm going to take ground espresso. Whoops! Oh no, now it happened. Oh no. Okay, let's see how we can work with that. I'm so sorry. If you don't have inks and you want to have a similar effect, I'm sure this would also work with any other water-soluble media. Could be water-soluble crayons, markers, watercolor, anything that will wipe off of a shiny surface. And now we take a damp cloth and we gently wipe away the ink on the shiny surface. And that is working really well. Let's not forget the little body. So now let's decide how to glue this on the flap. Since the bodies are so fragile, I definitely want those to still be on the flap. So I think I'll glue mine like this. That way the body is just still on there. You can actually hardly see any of this, so that might have been completely pointless with the gluing of the same paper on it, but okay. So I'm thinking it's easier to cut this part off before I glue on my butterfly. So I want to trace the wing and the body so that I know where to cut. Probably would be easier with smaller scissors. And it doesn't help when your journal is as bulky as mine. So this would probably be a lot easier if you do this before you sew in your envelope. So if you know you want to do this before, then that makes a lot more sense. I'm cutting inside the lines because I want to make sure that none of this paper will show in the middle of my butterfly. Let's see how we did. Not so bad. So I'll add some glue now. Oh, we have one side. Yay! So then I'll add glue on this side. Hopefully these will match up now fairly well. If I did a good job cutting it out, yeah, more or less. And let's not forget his body. I'll ink up the edges. So now I have a big problem. I should have seen this coming. As you can see here, it's all floppy and it's going to break in no time if I don't strengthen this part somehow. So I'm thinking, what could I add? I can't put anything in between, so I can only put something on top. So I need something that is not going to look like we tried to fix something. We want something that will make it look like it was always meant to be that way. So my first thought is, how do you strengthen something like this? Maybe with some wire. So I have some wire. I don't know the gauge of this. It's fairly stiff. It's not super thin. And I think if I can manage to make some sort of a construction so that the wire will somehow go here through the middle, and then maybe I can form some wings with the wire that we can somehow attach. I don't know how yet. So let's try to form some wings. Preferably in a similar shape to the wings that we have here already. And then this maybe we can twist around somehow. We'll figure that out later. So from here I'll go down because I think the wire will lay better like that. Cut this off. So I have these two ends now that I can kind of just twist around somehow. Totally winging this. Literally. Oh my goodness, I'm literally winging this. This is going to create huge bulk in my already bulky journal, but that's all right. It's not a journal, it's a planner. It's a planner journal. And then what do we do with these ends? Don't want to injure myself. Put them back up. It will create even more bulk. Ooh, I just have an idea. Look, they can be the antennae because I forgot the antennae. I wanted to add some in between. I forgot. Oh, that's perfect. You know what? Yes, we have antennae and we can make round tops. So I have these from jewelry making and I can just twist this around. Okay, so how do we attach this now? It would be kind of fun to do the same thing for the other side and then just to sew them both together. Because if I just sew it from the one side, I don't know if that would look great on this side. I've thought about it for a minute and I cannot sew this because the body part is so fragile. There's no way I can sew around it without it tearing. So I'm going to have to revert to something I don't like doing, simply because I always injure myself. And that is to use my glue gun. And the other reason why I didn't want to do that is because we're going to see the glue underneath, which I'm not a fan of, but I don't see any other practical solution. So I'll add my glue here on the body. And then let's add this. So now I realize gluing it on the body isn't getting rid of the issue that this is still floppy. So I'm also going to have to glue on at least part of the wing. I really didn't want to do that. It does the trick because now I have a stiff butterfly. That's exactly what it needed. So we'll just have to accept that. So that's one side, that's the other side. I think it's a fun little page. And it's a really fun addition to your planner, journal planner, wherever you decide to add this to. So have fun with this idea. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.